One of the ideas I had no idea that even existed is that Muslims think that Muhammad is mentioned in the Bible. And I said, no, I've been to school, I've grown up in this religion, we don't talk about Muhammad, he's not in the book, he's not in the Old Testament, he's not in the New Testament. I'm pretty sure this is where you've gone off base. But I asked people to share with me what verses they feel applied to the Prophet Muhammad. And there's a plethora, there's lots of verses that people say this is the Prophet Muhammad in the Bible. And you go read the verse, and it may not say the prophet by name, but it mentions somebody's going to do something at a certain time in a certain way. And as I read these verses, I'm thinking, whatever you want to interpret, anybody can come up with any conclusion they want. But for me, I wanted to know what the Christian would say to the Muslim in response. So I got the best answers I could to explain each verse. And as I heard the argument of, this is the Prophet Muhammad, here's his life, here's his story, here's where he's coming from, here's what he's going to do, here's how he's going to do it, here's what he's going to say. All of this started to persuade me that my book that I believed in was actually ordering me to follow this person that I didn't even recognize. And not only did it order me to follow him, it was so specific as to what and who and how in every way that this person was the person who he claimed to be, Muhammad, and that Christians and Jews were told to follow once he came. So this show isn't long enough for me to explain the real meaning of what they have, but I'm just saying in a very simple manner that Jesus was very clear as to who he was, why he came, and what he did. And in my opinion, he ordered Muslims to follow Muhammad. I'll give you this one verse.
Give it to us.
In John, 16th chapter of John in the Bible, I'll use the King James Version, Jesus is speaking to his disciples about things to come. And he said, nevertheless, I tell you the truth. It's expedient for me, Jesus, to go. For if I do not go, the Comforter will not come. But if I go, I will send him unto you. And then a few verses later it says, and he, the Spirit of truth, will not speak of himself, but what he hears he shall speak, and he shall guide you unto all truth. Now I have a Muslim audience in front of me right now. If I ask you, what did Jesus mean in that verse, who would he be referring to? Muhammad. If I ask a Christian, they wouldn't bat an eye. They would say that is the Comforter, the Holy Ghost. Right? So he's saying the Holy Ghost is coming, this Trinity, God the Father, the Son, the Holy Ghost, these three in one. There's not three, but they're the same. So I'll tell the Christian, well, let's read the verse with clarity so that we're clear on your position, right? Jesus is God, God the Father is God, and the Holy Ghost is God. If we read the verse with just simplicity, we say God said to the Jews. He said, it's expedient for God to go, for if God does not go, God will not come. But if God goes, God will send God unto you. Then later it says, and God, the Spirit of truth, will not speak of God's self, but what God hears, God shall speak, and God shall guide you into all truth. I don't have to explain that.
Yeah.
And when you look at the Bible and you take out this gymnastics of what words mean or what they can't mean and how they mean things, it becomes clear what it's telling you to do. It's saying there's one God, there's a heaven, there's a hell, there's a day of judgment, there's a person who's coming after Jesus who's going to do these things. From where he's going to come, the city, the people, the tribe, the things he's going to do, you can't mistake it. You would have to ignore it, bury it, run from it, as to accept it.
It's got to be lucid. It's got to be clear. It can't be now esoteric, as you said, and let's just, it's confusion, mental gymnastics to make it work. God's message got to be clear.
You can take it for what it says, and it tells you to be a Muslim.
One who is submitted to the will of God.
Mm-hmm.
قل يا أهل الكتاب تعالوا إلى كلمة سواء بيننا وبينكم ألا نعبد إلا الله ولا نشرك به شيئا ولا يتخذ بعضنا بعضا أربابا من دون الله فإن تولوا فقولوا اشهدوا بأننا مسلمون